So here we are in Chariot Lords. We've got a relatively balanced game, to be honest, for everyone except Blue. Blue is several points behind. It's hard to kind of express what's going on terribly well, but we got the Mittani just hiding back here in Elam, keeping Elam from being able to refresh on the board. The Casamites are also preventing them. They've got kind of like a couple of places here. Sumer has moved out and taken an area they need to take. Assyria has gathered up into here. The Egyptians, of course, coming through here. Achaeans over here. Canaan still kind of vaguely existing. And then, of course, the Hittites in two different places, running here and up here. And Judah has shown up on the board, and they haven't pissed God off yet, so they're happy or something. People want to get Jerusalem, so some people at least, and they cannot get it as long as Judah holds and they're in God's favor, for whatever that means. Nobody's lost their own God's favor, which right now is the Hittites and Assyrians. There's another, and the Egyptians, yeah. So these are the major empires. They have to maintain their own God's favor simply by holding their capital. And nobody's really making a serious push towards that. The Assyrians failed for a turn, but that's okay. They've reestablished. They just weren't able to take replacement points. They would have gotten one extra unit if they had. This has not been a pleasant game so far, but that's life. I'll stack these and I don't know what. I sort of snoozed a little bit. Put on a couple-hour video and didn't make it through the whole thing before waking up, so I was hoping to get a little bit more sleep in. It's like 7 something now. I'm not going to leave until later, so but I do have to go shopping today. But I figure let's start with another turn, see what we get. We get the Assyrians. We're going for an attack on the Canaanites, and we could subject them or subdue them as vassals, but we're not sure we want to. We're also trying to kill some Hittites up here and positioning ourselves for Susa. We have to take Babylon at some point, but I sent my force in the other direction, really, considering this, but I don't really want to put that there. I have an extra army to place. I gotta get my Mittani out to the north so that I can get to Susa, because I've sort of bottled myself in. Success here. I'm not going to risk the loss here. I'm going to take them as vassals. They turn upside down, but I got to write it somewhere that they have a vassal, because just knowing that these are vassals doesn't tell me who has them vassalized. And we have spread out all over here, getting ourselves 20 points. Nothing off the sheet, although we're building things up. Like this now counts as ours, so we get to mark it off. Libyans come in next. Ours again. They have some kind of confusing stuff on here. No big surprise. They get points for invading and hitting all their border regions. Okay. They get points for controlling on, I guess. Again, plunder 10As. I don't know what the hell that means. I'm assuming it's just flavor text. But also there's raid towards retinue, control any non-Egyptian starting area. On is not an Egyptian starting area, if I recall correctly. It's not in here. So I can get points from both for this, I guess. Which I don't think is the intention, but that's okay. And then otherwise getting some kills in. Recall correctly, the Libyans have a specific problem, which is that if they don't win on the first round, they pull out. automatically. I'm fully successful with no harm to me. I make the gods unhappy with the Egyptians. That means they're not going to be able to recover troops as easily, which is a big deal because their troops could hurt me. And I get a big 4 whole points. Indians come in. Now they had an invasion of sorts. So I was able to collect my points for these two as well. Oops, I forgot one of these. Yeah. And I'm building up. I have to stay for 3 turns with somewhere in Asia Minor. I don't know what the exact definition of Asia Minor is, but I'm figuring it's going to include all of that at least. I can look it up. But all these territories are relatively defensible. They are going to be hit by the sea people, though. Of various varieties. All those yellow troops coming in. Oh, buddy. I usually have water in there, and I don't think I have very much for him. Just a teeny bit. I should have put some in today. I drew the Elamites. Now, unlike before, he's gone. Unlike before, I'm getting an invasive force, which is not stopped by these territories being taken. I don't get to rebuild my units yet, but I have to control this. And I'm trying to figure out if there's anything else, do I want to score more points, whatnot. Elam is going to be in a bit of trouble, I think, because they lost so many turns. You have to have Susa, and I have to capture Babylon this turn. I don't think I can get Babylon. Think of a hard call. If I attack here instead, I can attack Babylon. I can use my king on these 2 locations. Shift 1 extra of these in and put these 2 there and take a higher risk maneuver. I think I want to do that because the Elamites are doing so poorly. But I have to win Susa. But then again, Babylon is important to me too, isn't it? Let me see how big a deal it is. It's 20 points. Susa's 30 points. Oh no, the dynasty is Susa, Sumer, and Cardunash. Where's Sumer? Sumer's hard to attack, and I'm obviously not going to get that this turn. The Elamites were entirely successful. They did lose a chariot, though. And they killed the Mitanni chariots. In neither case did this convert any points. I think the Sumerians were worth something to me. I'm not sure. I hope I didn't put it down for the wrong person. I have the fear that I put it down and gave it to the Kassites. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I gave it to the Kassites and gave the points to the Elamites. So let's drop that down and replace the marking. Just a solo-only error where keeping track of all these different victory point charts is more... But, this doesn't happen in the other Britannia games for the most part. I don't even remember this kind of thing happening in Invasions, which I only played a couple of years ago for the first time. Much, much more complicated. And now I do get my 6 points, though, also for Elam. This would be a lot easier not solo. And maybe I've been overly harsh about it because I'm playing it solo. Because if each player is worrying about their own victory conditions, they're in better shape. But we lose that sort of... If that's the case... If you're only worrying about what you can do and not that worried about what other people might do, you're losing a lot of the functionality. I don't know what it is. Is it strategy, optimization over a more complex manifold, whatever, that Britannia allows for? Here, it gives you a much, much more complex situation to deal with. But in terms of where all the points are coming and who's doing them. And if everybody's playing at a very naive level, where they're only worried about their own victory points, that loses a lot of what those Britannia games tend to have. Some of which is that sort of, hey, Blue's doing really well. If we wipe out the angles completely, not that that's an option in this for the most part, like as we saw with the Elamites, they were locked out for a while and now they're back. If we knock out the angles for a while, if we knock out the angles at this point, we'll really cut into their points because they'll miss a victory point turn or something like that. And so you have this kind of working together to smack people around. Neat. So I think the Hati, not that I could really accept it, but I think they would have been, not Hati, the Mitanni would have accepted a vassalage. But that would mean leaving Susa. I would still get the points for it with them as a vassal and me not in my home. Might have been a better move. I don't know. And I have to look up, what does Elam say? They say they have to control it throughout the game, which I think means at the end of each of their turns they have to be there. Game's a little fuzzy about that too. I don't know. But anyway, I fucked up, I guess, by attacking. And I'm not going to fix that. I'm just, I've screwed up the vassalage before. And I have this great fear that if vassalage is in play the way it should be in this game, it's just going to be a royally painful thing. Like, the game does not give the proper amount of components. Like, what it really needs is some kind of little vassal markers that you can use. I guess you could use dead units to indicate that or something. I don't know. But it's like, it just doesn't come with what's needed to make it at all easy. Instead, you're writing more and more shit down. It's just not, I compare this. Yes, there are some games where writing lots of information down and tracking it that way makes sense. This is not that kind of damn game, And that's part of it. I'm coming into it with that. It's a Britannia type game. I shouldn't be being taxed the way I am here. That's what's so fucking frustrating about it. And the same thing happened with Invasions, where it's like, I can't really judge the game for what it is because of what its lineage is. Kind of funny, I've been friends on Facebook with her for a while, but this woman, that was one of the great what ifs in my life. There are a couple of them I'm in contact with. But she sent a couple of pictures of us, or actually a friend of hers found them and she passed them on. Actually, I think the friend is someone I knew too, but I'm not positive. Like, only very briefly. But it has me in kind of this weird sort of churn. I mean, even 20 years ago, this woman's my age. It was obvious that she ain't what she used to be, kind of thing. Yeah, it just has me kind of in this weird sort of, just in part just seeing, wow, I mean, we both look so fucking young. This is the picture's probably from when I was right around 30, and she would have been that age as well. And but that was a complex situation. At first, my wife and I were both very into her. My wife maybe more than me. But then, nothing ever happened, basically, until a little later, around the time the picture was taken, which is it was obvious to me that I could have her on my own, even just as a fling or whatever, but it's that's not what I wanted. But by that point, my wife was starting to feel kind of a jealousy thing because I was spending time with her, and just all kind of complexities there that confused things. Whereas I was spending time with her with the hopes of you know, linking us all together. Oh, well, anyway. Let's flip one of these over. We get somebody new coming in. Phrygians, and I am so glad they're wearing Phrygian caps, even if those weren't worn by their military. I don't know. It just makes me happy. I have no idea how to cope with this. So they get points for slaying Chimera and Hatti. And then slay 3 different nations' units, not Chimera or Hatti. Is that supposed to mean, like, reading it that way, to me it means I can kill, like, 1 Achaean and that's good, but I can't kill just 3 Achaeans, which is quite available. I'm supposed to go for Hattusis. Phrygia is eventually going to be important. And Casca, Chalbes, and East Tarsus. Okay, so I'm going to be going through the north. Okay. And I can come in on Wilusa. Fucked up. What did I fuck up? I fucked up. And I realize I fucked up more than that. I fucked up the Egyptians too. Because I bet you they have prevent non-Egyptian control of Memphis. They could have thrown more troops in. They didn't. I didn't catch that in time. Oh, look, blue gets fucked again. I mean, this whole, I get to move my pieces during someone else's turn is, again, it's more of that, let's make the game more military, but on top of this system, it is just so hard to fucking remember that kind of shit. What I had done was I moved here. If I did that, these could come in there. This could come in too. And they sure the hell want to do that. I'll do that instead. But likewise, I have to reverse what happened in Egypt too. Because it's too big a loss. You really have to threaten the empire to capture its capital under those kind of circumstances. And it's just too much to penalize Egypt again for this, or the Hittites for this. When it's like, both my players are forgetting. Now, this is where that table talk thing comes in, right? Somebody moves in there and, oops, we had a trap here, 4 units against your 2, have fun. It's like, what a horrible way to learn the game, you know, if you put shit like that in there. But equally, you know, I mean, people should be able to remind one another of the rules in a game if they're making a stupid move that's going to damn them. In circumstances, I can see that kind of, you know, no pointing out better better moves or anything like that is if you're in an absolute tournament situation. Then yeah, I could see maybe you could make the argument that, you know, but honestly, it comes down to a game kind of like gunboat diplomacy. I also fixed the Egyptians here. They would have sucked all of this in. Probably that too, but who knows? They might have something. I think they want to control Philistine. I don't know. And it was enough that the Libyans, I re-rolled the dice, and the Libyans wouldn't have gotten. This is actually what the result would have been. I let the Libyans fall into that trap, which also feels unfair, but whatever. I don't care anymore. This is so fucking annoying. The Phrygians got their 8 points for the territory they have. I marked an A down to mark the Achaeans instead of an X for whatever's here. That might help remind me of who they killed. They've got to kill non-Hittites, though, But other people, I don't know what the fuck. It's something I wouldn't do. They moved into here to attack it, succeeded in killing an Elamite, and now I'm actually going to stay like that, I guess. I don't know. I got myself 4 victory points off of it, but Sumer is important to me, and if the Elamites smack me hard enough, I might be in trouble. So I don't know. Who's next? Egypt is next. Chase the Libyans back out, reestablish themselves. I have a ruler here in Philistia because I want to defend that, although I think I could move him there anyway, and I can't move him here, but he needed to be within range there, but I can then move him here. Okay. I want to kill Hittites, but I didn't have the regular infantry to hit here, and I didn't want to slam into this. But I do want to get up here, so it's like, but I don't want to waste my troops, and life is just complex in this game. That puts me on the Hatti, but I actually have to get a new pipe. The Hatti are not going to have any great battle of Kadesh here, nor the Egyptians. What's kind of interesting is Hatti want Phoenicia. That's really hard for me to get. I don't think I want Philistia, which is what the Egyptians give points for not giving me. Which is just kind of weird. Like, yeah, prevent Hatti control of Philistia is 20 points for the Egyptians. During your own turn. But they have absolutely no interest in that. And and then this is a prevent during your own turn, which just fucking blows my mind because I'm setting up to defend that. But to defend both, really, but I can't. But the Hatti don't give a shit about Philistia. They care about Phoenicia. And the Egyptians don't care about Kadesh, but they care about stuff beyond it. So at least that is kind of sensible. Like here, the Egyptians could have just given the Hatti Phoenicia and said, good luck with that. But this blockage actually worked pretty well. It prevented both sides from getting what they wanted. It might have been better, I don't know, to get what you want. Hatti actually took Philistia, but because the Egyptians only have to prevent it during their own turn, they were able to drive the Hatti out. Or actually the Hatti just left. God. This is just so fucking crazy. Like I'm trying to piece together. Like the victory conditions don't even really make sense. And then there was one that mentions Van, but it's just part of the flavor text as far as I can tell. Oh, God. So this is, oh, I have some Hatti here. What the fuck's up with them? I want to kill Philistia, but we'll kill some Achaeans too, just to reduce the amount of troops that are in my area. I don't know, they might be serving as a barrier for the sea people. Why don't we move like that? Protect the mountains. But we want to kill a couple of these Phrygians. We also want to kill a couple more Egyptians. And we haven't been getting many options to do so. My plan here is to attack here, if I succeed or whatever, I assume I will, fall back into Syria where the Egyptians don't care about me much. I was attacking up here, let's put the marker there to remind me where I'm fighting, because I'm trying to get my forces through so that they can all connect, and I want the Hittites to kind of, you know, be able to operate together. Well, there was a little bit of a problem. I killed one of the Canaanites, but not both. And they killed one of me. Neither side really cares. The Canaanites wanted to kill Hittites, but the problem is that I don't think those Canaanites can retreat. Under vassalage, they're not allowed to move, I know. I'm not sure if they're allowed to retreat. Yeah, they cannot be retreated again. They can't be vassaled again. So I guess I get a chance at wiping them out. But of course they can come back because Canaan is going to be... they haven't gotten their turn yet. Canaan is going to be largely more empty. The Phrygians want to slaughter Hittites, which means the same as slay, but not put to the sword. I mean, why? Why? Hittites are able to get 12 points. Do I want to be in Syria? I don't know. I gotta look at Judah. Judah wanted to kill Canaanites. There aren't any left. I need 4 areas for the kingdom of David on one turn. I could do that by getting like Pelusium and Sinai, which feels kind of goofy. Interestingly, the Sea Peoples are listed here as getting stuff from Arzawa to Nagatis, anywhere across there. But when we look here, they're only allowed to reinforce into any 3 spaces invaded by them previously, I guess. That means I have to write down which spaces they invaded, I suppose. I don't think I cheated, but it's a little uncertain. The Phrygians invade, they land on these certain spaces, and similarly the Sea Peoples will do that. It's their turn, which is why we're talking about them. So I think since they land on these spaces, or start on these spaces essentially, I was able to do the movement that I did and ended up back here, which is okay. But that means that I can actually land here and make my way, into Egypt. Now this is important because what the Sea People want is they want 5 cities in one turn. I can get 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th one is tough to find. But I could land here and move up there and get it. Now that's risky because my Luvians then I have to think about. What's up with them? They go to Lukakos, Arzawa, and Kizikuana. But they actually don't care if I head up this way. A good place to put this guy that's safe. I'm going to make my own invasion here. Now, I only landed on 3 areas. Arzawa, Kadesh, and On. So those are the 3 I'm going to mark down as the places that I can land, that I can bring reinforcements into. And then on redeployment, I can get somebody back to Gaza. My 3 special spaces up here, I guess. And now we fight. Lower Egypt is Memphis. Fuck. That's not gonna work. Oh shit. There's nothing that stops me from landing in Philistia, so I will take my shot at Damascus. If I'm doing that, I'll throw all 4 in. And we were successful at wiping out the Hatti here. That means that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cities. We got these guys too. And so we get a big 10 points for that. Plus, 5 territories is worth another 10. Because a game of this nature would make you want to do is kind of be constantly worrying about the victory points and balancing. Now, to be fair, none of the Britannia games that I'm aware of are absolutely good about this. If you count History of the World, yeah, it works. It works okay. But most of them are like not balanced throughout the game. Yeah, people get big sprues of points at various different times. So I'm not expecting that to be a terribly useful thing, but if it were, if we were looking, you know, when I'm looking at things like coin or something, I'm constantly trying to prevent somebody from getting too far of a lead. Well, in those games, in coin and history, Here I Stand, in those kind of games, that are very tight throughout the game, there's always a possibility somebody's going to get an auto victory by getting too far ahead. You have to knock people down just to keep the game going, you know? The fuck was the recent knife fight that was like that? Oh man, Baltic Empires was totally like that. And I actually think Baltic Empires I don't know. I was going to say it may have been better. There was something I was playing recently, and it may have been Baltic Empires, that was that kind of knife fight, and because it was that kind of knife fight, but like it could easily tip. Whereas in coin and Here I Stand, if players are careful, they can pretty much prevent somebody from getting that kind of auto victory. There's nothing like that in this. It's just, you know, something I'm speculating on, because I've always felt kind of sour about the Britannia games where your score doesn't really matter. Like, you can't, unless you know the game intimately, you can't make any judgment about who's winning at any given point. But then these other games that came along that are really, really, you know, you're able to knock people down and take them out of their auto victory conditions and keep it all balanced. And then, especially in the coin games, it comes down to, what's that last card? Who gets the lucky shot that pushes them over? Not the auto victory, but for the regular victory, because everybody's kind of keeping close. So like the luck of the draw at the very end of the game almost always decides, at least the ones that I'm most comfortable with, things like Andean Abyss is the one I'd most be comfortable with there. But also Distant Plain, I remember being able to do that kind of thing with very easily. I don't know if Here I Stand had that kind of feel to it, but Baltic Empires completely was different in that you could not like guarantee that you could stop people at all times. But it was a close run thing. So that was kind of cool in that. That's one of the things that I think kind of sold me on why that was, you know, the game that I looked at this year and said, oh, this is my favorite game this year. And then I'm not so sure, because I found something else after that that really impressed the shit out of me as something new. No, I don't remember. There is a new game based on the same system as Baltic Empires, which is on the P500, which of course I ordered. Because, I mean, if I like something, I'll buy from the series for a certain amount. Like with coin, I kind of stopped at some point or another. I started buying some of the real off-the-wall stuff, like Pendragon and stuff. I have Cassites. I could get an extra chariot, you know, with the kill one, keep one. But these are my 3 home areas, and I don't own any of them. And I want to kill things. I want to kill Sumerians. But I also want to kill Assyrians, and I'm kind of worried that both might go away. Start spreading out, and, you know, maybe next turn we'll still be there. We killed an Assyrian, we lost a Kassite, which the Sumerians didn't care about, and then they were retreated. We managed to get just 4 points for those areas, because the mountains aren't worth as much. Next, all their territories are taken, so they do not get to recuperate. Spreads out. I've got to decide whether or not I want to get that 4 areas. Later on, I got more troops coming, but it's not a whole lot. Call with the Jews here because I succeeded in both spaces in taking the space. I killed 1 sea people, another one fled back to here. Great. I'm pulling back out of Philistia. Syria seems like it's kind of a safe place to be, but I could actually position myself differently into more territories because Jerusalem can't be taken, but it's a 50-50 chance it can't be taken. I'm going to stick with this. Let's see if I remain godly. I do, so that's cool. I gotta pipe up again. It's the Mitanni. I think they're gone, but they might be able to come back. No, they don't control any areas. They can't come back. Are they just gone from the game, does that mean? I believe it does, because they have no areas, no troops coming in. I don't get to take these back. That's going to be a pain. There's people who want to kill them. It's kind of the same thing with the Canaanites. They're not coming back either. Yeah. And there's people who want to kill them, like the Jews. Situation that does not happen in Britannia, and I think in very few of the games does it happen, because, well, first of all, yes, there are people who always want to kill people, and they get points for killing them on their own turn or whatever, which is great, but they never have, like, you don't have this kill 4 of them and get a pile of points. You might have something like occupy this location or occupy at least these or get a kingdom or whatever. But you don't have something where it's like this trigger victory condition. You might have, I can't get points off that anymore, but you don't have, I just lost 10 points because somebody else killed what my target is. You might look at it as, oh, I wanted to kill those, but it feels much more disheartening to lose an opportunity to get one of your victory point things, especially if you're playing with that. These are limited by what, well, that these points are limited by what the nation can get off of its regular points. That's going to put me on one last nation, which is the Luvians, and unfortunately I absolutely need another pipe. Already coming up to about 10 o'clock already. It's like 9:30. I had planned to leave by 10. But the Luvians, so they want to kill Hatties. They want to kill, again, 3 different non-Hattie nations. Given that I assume it's the same as before, and I assume the other thing is exactly like that. I want to hold Elasa and Aleppo. This is Elasa. I had trouble finding it. Aleppo's over here. I had a hard time, like everything. I don't have to do it all at once, but I'm not going to get these again. Like Phrygians I get again a couple of times. These Luvians, they disappear. And I think that these are all sea people, to tell you the truth. Then Haran and Hattusis, which Hattusis is particularly hard. Haran, not so much. But there's a lot of ick in my way. This is my attack. Taking this, I'd have to take Aleppo on the same turn. Not sure that's going to work. Killed 3 different nations. I killed an Assyrian and an Achaean up here. I've got more Assyrians to attack here. But This sucks because, you know, I was using an A for Achaeans, now I'm using an AS for Assyrians. There's not a lot of space there to write. It's annoying. Up Haran, which is worth 10, and then another 6. And so at the end of the turn, as we go into a turn 5, and I gotta look for, you know, new nations and whatnot as well. But we are looking at everybody's over 100. So yellow's at 187, 164, 156, and then down here at 110 for blue. Blue is really having a hard time scoring. I don't know. You know, I don't know how balanced things are, and you can't just add these up because some things are harder to do than others. The game is very mixed in terms of, like, in some cases you have a lot of opportunities to do different things to get yourself points. But right now, like Egypt is blue. They have 140 points. They're a big thing, but they've only collected 20 of them there. They've got 58 here. I've got to collect some of these if I'm doing that option. A couple of the people who like the game more seem to indicate that they played the light version. That may be better. I may scan over it before I give the review, but I'm going to play this version. But what I think is not going to happen in the light version, I don't think the victory conditions are going to be changed. They're the thing that I dislike the most. It's like a lighter combat and maybe a less military game, more like a real Britannia, which would help. It would help. Real Babylonians, we'll call them Chaldea, Arameans, and Urartu. Now here we come to where some of the errata is in place. They're what's going to show up. There's very little left. The Chimerans, the Nubians, the Lydians, and the Medians. Okay. But where we have a problem is the Arameans. They say 4 cavalry. They actually have 2 cav and 2 camels on there, and I'm looking for the fucking errata. So many, all these photocopies and all this shit. Now, this is what's here. So the first one, the master chart is correct, and the reference to chariots should instead be cavalry. Doesn't tell me where. Turns out that's the Urartu. And the master chart is incorrect because it says 3 chariots. The Urartu are blue. Now there's a discrepancy between master turn arrival and a specific blue turn arrival. There's no mention about camels. The blue arrival for turn 5 also says cavalry. And then it's turn 8. Both of them say chariots, so neither one's correct. But one of them's a mistake that's not covered in the errata. I'm just going to go with how the counters look. I don't know. What are these? The Arameans invade any area adjacent to the Arabian desert. Camels are basically cavalry with a bonus, so whatever. I think it's fine. Anyway, we're done. But it's Wednesday now. Not by much. A couple hours in. But I went shopping yesterday, and that wiped me out. Just hurts in various places, like my back, my arch of my foot. And because I'm wearing kind of the setup my podiatrist suggested. If I don't wear that, my arch is better if it doesn't have a really stable platform and arch support. But it also, I hadn't gotten a lot of sleep before I went. And so I fell back asleep after. I got home, I napped a little bit, maybe, got up and decided to sit outside and read and have a cigar and a drink, and then went back to sleep and ended up sleeping pretty much a full night's sleep, starting at well, now wait a minute. I didn't because I went and I saw the sunset. So I don't know. Anyway, I've definitely gotten enough sleep now. I have food. Apples are cheap again, so I bought some apples and they make me happy. And we're ready to start. I don't really like apples on their own, but there's two things I like with apples. One, from my childhood, my dad used to always put peanut butter on apples, and I love that. But even more, I take cheese and, in this case, summer sausage, slices of those, and eat that with apple. And then whatever's left of the apple, it's usually half an apple. In this case, it was 1/4. I put peanut butter on. Okay, so we hit Judah first. Boy, I've kind of lost the flow of playing this in, I don't know what, less than half a day. Well, more than half a day, but less than a day. I can't even speak. Our situation is the same. We went late in the last turn. We're out trying to hunt another sea people. After we redeploy, we find out the bad news. We have become ungodly. That means the chosen people can be captured. It's just a luck thing. Nobody's too interested in capturing them, but white is doing well. I pulled in 4 points, but not as well as yellow. I don't know that people would hunt them. The Assyrians got a ruler. Most of my Assyrian rulers. Still heading for Susa. Babylon is important to us. Killing Hittites and Jews is important to us. Damascus. Assyria is busy doing its goals. It kills a Hittite here, takes Damascus and kills a Jew. Moves over here, doesn't really care about what it killed, but it's getting itself into position for Susa. It takes Babylon, and then it's holding the capital. And the rest of the area around it is all empty. This feels very, very different from sort of your normal Britannia-style game. I've got goals I need to take and garrison, as opposed to something that I'm covering all the territory to get that kind of production. There's tons of empty territory, so production can be found all kinds of places. Here I'm in the Highlands. Why? Because it's more defensible. I don't know why I'm keeping this in particular, but mainly so that I can flow units through from Zamua, which is a home area, just in case. Got a lot of points this turn off of all of that. I don't know how many. Obviously, I also got the territorial points. Damascus and Babylon both scored me 10 points. I think that's the points that I got. I don't think I got a kill ratio up there high enough. And then I got another 15 off territories. So now I'm in the lead at 219. But again, the lead in these games doesn't mean much. I'm kind of pooped. Just doing a couple of these. Again, I woke up not long ago So I'm kind of fuzzy-brained, and I'm also, I don't know, I think that's the big thing. The game's kind of catching me, you know, my familiarity's coming back. I'm dealing with these charts. The charts are too complicated, though. And, you know, like some people have said, and I think I mentioned before that, that, yeah, you know, it is an issue of solo play, but it is also, if you wanted to play this game at all competitively, you need to know what other people want. Maybe not every specific thing, but you need to have a pretty good idea what they're going to do. Are they hunting you? Stuff like that. So that you know who you have to defend against and what you need to deal with. Some of it is sort of just the breaches in what's expected of you in most of these types of games. So the whole idea, the vassalage is kind of problematic. I definitely have to say. That's present in Britannia and a few others, but not usually across the board. Every nation can drop into vassalage. So there's usually some kind of indication on the Britannia cards. It'll say, you know, something like Angles may become you may subject Angles, or something along those lines. You also have, you know, so both players are aware of it. It's on their card. They have a single card about the size of this that tells you what their victory conditions are in all the special cases. And it's not as complicated. Well, actually, they can be as complicated. I mean, maybe it's not as complicated as Assyria, but it's certainly, most of them are as complicated as each of the nations here. But there's a single card per nation. So when you're paying attention to that nation, you look at that. You also have a turn record chart that tells you who comes in when. You know, it doesn't give you the whole stacks like I've had to line up here, but I actually view that as a negative, which is a requirement because all the pieces come on the board once in this game, and then they become dead units and then can come on through a different mechanism. There's a single mechanism for bringing units on the board. Well, there's still two mechanisms, but you don't have to distinguish the pieces. If you have pieces in your force pool, you can bring them on the board either as replacements or as, and sometimes reinforcements that way. I mean, you're building new units. Or as things that are scheduled to come in. You don't have this weird, I can collapse into myself, but only if I'm certain kingdoms and I have to have a specific victory point, a victory condition that allows me to do that. You know, like the rules stay the same in Britannia more or less. Yes, there are some special cases, but there's a lot more of that going on in here, and a lot of it's driven off of this mess. Time I disturb myself, dawn is almost here, which means I can squeeze a turn in. I was going to do a whole bunch, but we got the Arameans. They are new. Something completely undefined so far in the rules here for these guys. Rule in Aram Nahraim. Control 2 areas of the rivers, a total of 2 turns. I mean, I assume they mean the Tigris and Euphrates. They may mean any area with a river in it. I don't know. That specifically makes me want to kill Assyrians, but red has a lot of points. I do have things that specifically make me want to go here, and then I can, after my attacks, I can reshift, take those rivers or whatever for one of the 2 turns, I guess. Flipping through, I forgot about the fact that the Canaanites have the right to let people go through. That might have saved their lives. You know, I mean, if they end up at the Nile or here where there's rivers, I guess I'd count it too. I pushed their infantry up here. These guys, I've got to keep these for multiple turns, and I'm interested in Haran, so I'm kind of splitting my forces up. We ended up getting 7 points for the turn out of this, in part because we're up in the mountains. I'm going to go do my dawn watch. I don't know. It looks like it's going to not be very much color, but we'll see. Fog or cloud cover or whatever. It looks like fog, but it just continues up. Like, it's not foggy around my trees. Usually when the fog is here, it hits that hard. Has pretty much guaranteed that I get no sunrise today. The sunset wasn't that impressive yesterday either, just kind of that salmon that I'm not all that thrilled about. So, let's see what the next country is, I guess. And we get the Phrygians. Stack's getting awfully big. I haven't done this yet. I ought to remove the people that I've removed from the board. Yeah. So the collapse and expand mechanism being shown at its greatest here. The Phrygians have 5 pieces. They actually have 6, but one's dead. Just going to jump on this, kill it, and then spread out. They cover the entire Black Sea coast, basically. Not the West Caucasus, who Brewed 2 is worth more. I turn off the camera. I don't realize. Okay, new nation, Uratru. And finds that I have put more water in for him today. I think he's happy about that. These here Uratu look pretty, he's gone now, look pretty wimpy, to be honest. They come in here or here. I could have attacked here. Okay, great, whatever. But that would require me to put 2 units in one space. I had to spread out to 4 spaces because this may be the only turn where I can control 4 areas in any one turn. And that has to be after my redeployment. Okay, this time we remember, and we get the Libyans again. What's kind of interesting, actually, this says invade each border once. It doesn't say control. I think I successfully invaded this. This is not a term that's defined. Is it just flavor text? Maybe, but it also doesn't say control each of these. So I don't know. Game is too fucking weak in terms of spelling things out. And I think that means I make my moves against these 2 weak areas. Lower Egypt is too dangerous with the god counter there. I think, unless it's on my turn, like something was, no, it's just prevent non-Egyptian control, which would be on its own turn. Move into these, we lost a unit. But we got like 20 points for completing we invaded each, whatever that may mean. We also got 4 points. I may be a couple of points ahead with red that I shouldn't have, because I counted taking Lower Egypt. But we're weakening Egypt's capability of getting back here and defending Lower Egypt. Of course, there's a fair amount of dead Egyptian units, which could be deployed in that general area. And that puts us to the Luvians, who appear to be down here. Attack and spread type situation. Space, too much clutter. But I need the clutter. Not the clutter necessarily, but the stuff. So an example is, I bought cigars recently. They're overly moist. Ended up tasting not right, too soft, and I need to dry them out a little bit. But I also want to check if the humidity in my fridge, which is what I've been using, is still okay. The humidity outside is okay right now for the cigars, so I don't really need a humidor, but I have one. And I didn't know where. I knew I see it every now and then. So I spent like 40 minutes searching for it. It turns out it's in my bedroom, which is not a reasonable place for it, to be honest. I think it moved there from one of my junk rooms, which I tore apart. Which is good because I had a book avalanche happen yesterday after I got home from shopping. But it's like, okay, so all this stuff, all this clutter with no real clear place to put things, and I really can't have a clear place to put things. I used to have trunks and things that helped me sort stuff, but I don't have them anymore. Means that things are hard to find. But one of the things that would have gotten ousted if I reduced what I owned is this humidor. So, okay, I'm sure I have things that will never be useful to me again. But anyway, we get to the Cassites, who are still around. They have a couple of pieces they can bring in. They have the territories they can bring them in. Problem is where they get their points from now on. So I've scored 35 here if I'm playing with that option. 10, 20, 30. I've only got like 40 points. I have to kill a Sumerian. Well, they're all bottled up here. If I let them out, maybe I can. I have to kill an Assyrian. Those should be easy. They're all over the place near me. And then that's really it. That's all I have left, is another 20 points to gain. I don't know if I want to create the Chariot. I guess a Chariot's better than nothing, is better than not having one. Elam could be wiped out here, but they have a leader right now and won't very shortly. So I don't know. Let them live a little longer. Well, there are a lot of them. And my Chaldeans are going to come in soon. Take our shot at Elam. Fucked up. We lost our battle in Medea, decided to withdraw, lost a unit here to the Elam, and actually gave them 10 points. They probably could kill me at some point anyway, but I was hoping to wipe them out before. But yeah, and then up here we chase the Assyrians out. We only get like 3 points for those 2 areas that we hold. Not an impressive turn for us. And we wasted the 2 units we just got. And now it's our sea peoples, which are spread all over Hell and Creation. Luckily, they do have naval movement. And I'm hoping it's good. Nope. They're sea people, but they can't do the 6 areas of sea movement that Egypt, Assyria, and the Achaeans can do. Hard call with the Egyptians. Obviously, they can reinforce into here. I decided to sail in and attack the Assyrians here, bringing some reinforcements into play. I brought my replacement unit. I only get 1. And I'm attacking the Achaeans here. That puts me in range of getting that. I don't really care about killing Achaeans, but, well, I don't know what else to do. I need to move these to try to get them down, and they don't have enough movement to get to where I want to. Big question is, do I attack here? I've got a slight advantage. It'll hurt me if I lose. I could improve my attack on the Philistines, and that'd be fine. It's the garbage trucks. But if I don't attack them, the Egyptians will get at least 2 more units. And be a little bit stronger. And I'd like to take advantage of their weakness. Of course, they can beat me up anyway. So I don't know. I suppose we'll go for safety and try to maintain our existence. It goes so well, we lost a couple of infantry here against the Assyrians and fell back afterwards. These guys could redeploy, but they got nowhere to go. Now the Achaeans have a bit of a problem now because they have to have 2 cities in Asia, or 2 locations. 2 cities, or yeah, I don't know. I think it's just 2 locations. So they're called Lords of the Citadels, but just provinces of Asia Minor, not cities. Whatever. There's something so fucked up here. You have to control locations to get replacement units, but you don't get them in the locations you control. You get them in your home areas. And what's not clear to me is, yeah, they do have to be at least empty or controlled for you to get, or controlled by you, to get your replacements. But they can, like, resurrect somewhere else. And in fact, they can't show up outside your home area. So, so I'm looking at the Hatti now, and I'm going to be able to rebuild up to 3 units. But they're going to have to show up. The only place they still have that they can show up is in the Hittite capital. Ugly situation, which is I want to kill Egyptians. Now, obviously, Ramses here is going to be tough to fight. I'm not going to go after him. And these, probably too far away for me to reach, unless I have the bonus sea movement. I do not. I'm not one of the 3. Assyria? I don't think of Assyria as being able, as having huge naval capabilities. Weird. But if I withdraw back to defend Hatti, I've got like a serious issue with ever being able to get those points from the Egyptians. Now I could jump down to Philistia with the intent of getting those points. Might not be a bad idea. Base movement, I'm shipping down to here. I could actually gather everyone in Philistia afterwards. And then out of here, I'm attacking with everyone out. They're going to collapse back in. But I may want more victory points. Hard to tell. I attacked too many Phrygians. I should have tried to get this space. The Luvians, I need to kill 2 of them still. I only needed to kill 1 Phrygian. I only got 1 Phrygian. So I might have not ended up in as good a position. But in terms of collapsing back into here, that makes no sense. In fact, this makes sense. Because I can collapse back into it. That gives me 2 more points that I didn't count. Let's keep my running total here. But these guys I did throw all together. Now the reason I can collapse back into there is I have a defend from everybody thing. Which is just, I don't know, it's so hard to think in these terms when you're so used to like how the Britannia games work. But it does make sense for a military to be able to defend the capital where if it's important to you. And also, you know, to be able to do this spread out strike, get your successes and then fall back. Although, you know, you don't have the same I don't know. It just, like, I want this to have to do with populations. And the game, by being so close to the Britannia games and not doing that, just feels so wrong. And then we add all the pain that this game applies in addition to that. And it's like, I don't think it's worth it. I'm not a huge fan of Britannia itself anyway. It's just its comfort food and the pain that this is layering on top of that in terms of unfamiliar stuff and then also just bad stuff like these victory point charts and whatnot is just it ruins it. It ruins it. You know, what little there was for a game that I never respected very much. That's, you know, I mean, it's like an Axis and Allies type thing. It's not something you play because it's giving you, you know, some kind of great insight into what happened or whatever. At least it's not history of the world. All right, I gotta break for a bit. I can only take so much of this. Back down for some more. Let's see what we got here. Kadan, we get to get rid of those. They're gone. Sumer isn't going to get a lot of points because off of holding territory. They just don't have a lot of pieces. So they're going to focus here, and everybody's got to focus there if you're playing with the option. And I'm not sure if I am or not. I'm sort of doing both. I have to kill. I'm assuming the slay 3 units is the correct thing, not the 4 dashes, because other places where the dashes are less, I've been charging them. I have to kill an Elamite. I'm going to go in with my entire force, even though, again, the Elamite King is there. I'm worried Elam's going to be destroyed. And they don't come back again. They got a rebirth. They're not going to get another rebirth. So I got to kill them before somebody else does, like the Kashites have just tried to. It's decreased greatly. I didn't kill any. And so I'm going to fall back. Actually just fall back to here, but then in my redeploy I go back to here. And Elam holds out against another opponent. Babylon wants to hurt a lot of people. And it doesn't look like they have a lot to do it. We want to hurt Sumerians, Elamites, and Assyrians, and we want to make our way down here, screw around in the Mediterranean area as well. Obviously, that latter part seems particularly dangerous, especially since we have to hold, I think, Babylon. Gotta find it. Yeah, we have to hold it for 3 turns. I'm guessing once we achieve that victory point value, I don't know, how does it even work? Yeah, we got to prevent other people from controlling it. So we're going to have the fallback. But I assume once our victory points are gone, maybe we don't have it. But I don't know. Because we have the god. So the god makes Babylon important to us no matter what at the beginning of our turns. Well, we definitely want to kill the Assyrian that we're on. I think we're going to try to wipe out Elam as well. What we're actually going to go for. I thought about trying to kill some Assyrians here, but I'm going to have plenty of time to fight Assyrians. I want to make sure I succeed, gather territory, all that. To actually hurt ourselves. We didn't want to take the Elamites out. I threw too many units in, probably. By killing them, we've wiped them out as a race, and we need to kill 3 of them, and there were only 2 left. The Mitanni and the Elamites, both of which were bagged, came up. Got to be careful about that. Things like the Hittites are still around. The Achaeans are up. There's not a lot of them, and they don't get any replacements ever again. Wrong term there, I mean reinforcements. They are getting replacements. They're able to get 2 because they have 2 territories. And then I gotta figure out where they land because it's not in those 2 territories. Border would have helped here. Oh, here rivers are defined. Huh. I probably didn't use the places I was counting. Mitanni, Euphrates, Mari, Akkad, and Babylon. Yeah. Great. Thanks. Asia Minor. I think that's Casca up in the north there. Is really over here. Is Kizuwanta in there? It's a lot smaller than I expected it to be. And the Achaeans care about that. I really don't like this. Like, some bordering would have worked for Asia Minor and mark the river states with something. Yeah, I don't know. Just something. Maybe some kind of shading. I don't know. Just something. Very little effort was put into trying to make the game playable. Having some of our kill spaces here. Abandoning Alasa. Ending up back here. We're kind of worried about the Phrygians, to be honest. We killed the last Phrygian over here. If they get replacements, though, I think they can come in here, but I don't know if they will. So we're going to kind of have to hope that they break through the Hatti. Next is Mighty Egypt, which is just this and this, I think, at this point. Oh, the Egyptians want this. The Hittites controlling Philistine is a problem, and so we're sweeping in there. This is a crapshoot. I have one more chariot than they do. And good old Egypt drives the Hatti out of Philistinia into Pelusium, which feels like more of a threat, to be honest. And then spread up here in preparation to grab this. It's the Aramaeans who needed to have their rivers. I counted these. Those don't count. Well, too bad. You know, if they had said something like, I don't know, if they had given the rules reference or something like that in there, it would have been helpful. But I remembered Asia Minor being defined. I didn't remember rivers being defined. We set up here, just a weak defense here. That's all we need. Philistia we don't care about anymore, because if the Hittites return there, we can beat them back out. It might make sense to defend it, but we wanted the 12 points. We wanted to give more space. So, whatever. That ends turn 5, putting us into turn 6, where we will see... Are Lydians new? Lydians are new. And, well, there's going to be additional Phrygians coming in, too. Phrygians and Judeans. So there's that. I'm going to load this up. Contemplating the 1 or 2 bag solution. Well, 1 or many bag solution per color. The 1 bag solution gives me the advantage that I'm used to in Britannia, which is I sort all the pieces out. And, you know, that's just peachy. It really works just fine in Britannia. In this, it's not so good because the difference between dead piles and other things. But you know what? Counter trays solve the problem. I don't want to have everything programmed out as to what turn it comes in on the turn record track. And in fact, even doing what I've done, which is with the states that are already in existence, is getting crowded and painful, especially as we get here where there's less space for things. So, yeah. We've still got 3 nations not yet on the board. Medea, Nubia, and the Cimmerians. And I've got to program those in, and that's it.